So you've been so your work specifically on the the influential map created a huge amount of discussion. Can you talk to us about that specific finding, which created a huge amount of wave around the world on specifically the way you defined how drugs really affect human beings, and you really said alcohol was the worst form of addiction ever. So can you talk to me about that specifically?
Yeah, you're talking about my Lancet 2010 paper, I think over 2,000 citations. It was a paper that we wrote after I was dismissed by the government. For the previous 10 years, I had been advising the British government on drug policy.
Hmm.
And as part of that process, I set up a methodology for properly assessing the harms of drugs in order to determine, whether they should be controlled under the law, and if they were to be controlled, under what level of control. And I came to a conclusion that the Misuse of Drugs Act and also the United Nations Conventions on Drugs didn't accord with the evidence of harm, and
Mm.
that's what got me sacked. And ever since then, I've been banging the drum. Well, let's try to put evidence at the center of drug policy, because if you don't, then people don't believe the policy, and then they don't learn the messages, they don't heed the messages, they basically don't trust anything you say about drugs. So
Mhm.
the interesting finding about that analysis, which you intimated, was the fact that overall in the UK, alcohol was the most harmful drug. Now,
Mm.
we've since replicated this research. It was such an important, interesting finding that the European Department of Justice, they gave us a grant to do the same in Europe. And we took 30 European experts, and they took the original analysis and they changed everything and came up with the same result. And then it's more recently it's been done in Australia and in New Zealand. And they all come to the conclusions in Western countries where alcohol is a legal drug, it's the most harmful drug. And that's not surprising, because it's actually the most used drug, apart from things like caffeine and tea. And that tells you two important things. It tells you that, at the very least, you shouldn't be advertising alcohol, because you're actually driving people to a drug which is overall the most harmful. But it's most harmful because of the impact that alcohol has on other people.
Mhm.
Alcohol is not the most harmful drug to the user. Drugs like crystal meth, crack cocaine, heroin, fentanyls, they're more harmful to the user, and they're more likely to kill you or injure you. But to society, alcohol is the most harmful drug because it's so widely used. And then people have said, "Oh, well, who cares about that?" I mean, it's what the drug policy should be stopping people using harmful drugs, and I support that. But the reality is, overall, alcohol is the most harmful drug of all. So we ought to have a policy which deals with social harms as well as personal harms, and that policy, is something countries should really work towards, and because it would benefit everyone.